"Don't you have a child, you old hag?" she sneered, her voice dripping with contempt. "Why do you bother coming here with your stinking body?" In a bustling village nestled deep within the heart of Africa, there lived a woman whose tongue was as sharp as the blade of a machete, and whose temper blazed hotter than the midday sun. Her name was Adesua, but she was better known as Egwonwu, which meant the one who talks without regard. From the break of dawn until the stars painted the sky, Egwonwu roamed the village, spreading venom with every word she uttered. She showed no respect to the elders, ignored the greetings of her neighbors, and belittled anyone who dared to cross her path. Her disdain for the old and the weak was particularly evident one scorching afternoon as she made her way to the river to fetch water. As she approached the water's edge, she spotted an elderly woman laboring under the weight of a heavy pot balanced upon her head. Egwonwu's lips curled in disgust, and she hissed loudly. "Don't you have a child, you old hag?" she sneered, her voice dripping with contempt. "Why do you bother coming here with your stinking body?" The old woman said nothing, her face weathered, but her eyes filled with a quiet dignity. She continued her task, ignoring Egwonwu's taunts as she filled her pot with water. Enraged by the old woman's silence, Egwonwu lunged forward, shoving the pot off the old woman's head and sending water cascading onto the dry earth. "Get out of my sight, you worthless crone!" Egwonwu spat, her voice echoing across the riverbank. Tears welled in the old woman's eyes, but she said nothing as she gathered her belongings and began the long walk home. As she disappeared from view, Egwonwu's laughter rang out like the clanging of a rusty bell, filling the air with its bitter melody. Little did Egwonwu know that her cruel actions would set into motion a chain of events that would change her life forever. That evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon and the village settled into the quiet embrace of the night, the old woman sat alone in her humble dwelling, her heart heavy with sorrow. She had no children to comfort her in her old age, no one to share her burdens or her joys. Frustrated and weary, she raised her hands to the heavens and cried out to the spirits of the ancestors for justice. "Great spirits," she whispered, her voice trembling with emotion, "grant me the power to right the wrongs done to me this day." Her plea echoed into the darkness, carried on the wings of the night breeze, and the spirits heard her call. In that moment, a powerful curse was unleashed upon Egwonwu, sealing her fate for generations to come. The old woman's words echoed in the depths of Egwonwu's soul, a dark prophecy that would haunt her for the rest of her days. "You will never know the joys of motherhood," the curse whispered, its voice like a distant echo from the past. "Even if you bear a child, it will be a monster, a creature of darkness and despair." Egwonwu scoffed at the old woman's words, dismissing them as the ramblings of a senile mind. But deep down, a seed of fear had been planted in her heart, a nagging doubt that refused to be silenced. As the days turned into weeks and the weeks into months, Egwonwu found herself haunted by strange sensations stirring within her womb. A sharp pain pierced her abdomen, causing her to double over in agony. But when she sought solace from the village healers, they could offer her no solace or explanation. Little did she know that the curse was already taking root, weaving its dark magic within the depths of her being, preparing to unleash its terrible wrath upon the world. As the months passed, Egwonwu's belly swelled with the weight of her unborn child, but her heart was heavy with fear. Each day brought new discomforts, new pains that racked her body and soul. She felt as if a dark shadow loomed over her, casting its ominous presence upon her every waking moment. Whispers spread through the village like wildfire, fueled by fear and superstition. Some claimed to have seen strange lights flickering in Egwonwu's home at night, while others swore they heard eerie wails emanating from within its walls. But most kept their distance, unwilling to risk the wrath of the cursed woman. Egwonwu herself was consumed by dread, haunted by visions of the monstrous child growing within her womb. She tossed and turned in her bed at night, tormented by nightmares of twisted limbs and gaping maws. Yet despite her fears, she clung to a flicker of hope, a tiny spark of maternal instinct that refused to be extinguished. She dreamed of holding her child in her arms, of showering it with love and affection, of proving the old woman's curse wrong. But as the day of her childbirth drew near, Egg Wunwu's hopes were overshadowed by a sense of impending doom. She could feel the weight of the curse bearing down upon her, crushing her spirit with its relentless grip. And little did she know that her darkest fears were about to be realized in a way she could never have imagined. On a stormy night, with thunder rumbling like the growl of a hungry lion and lightning flashing across the sky like the wrath of the gods, Egg Wunwu's time finally came. She writhed in agony as the pains of childbirth ripped through her body, each contraction a reminder of the curse that had plagued her for so long. The village midwives gathered around her, their faces drawn with concern as they tried to ease her suffering. But as the hours passed and the labor grew more intense, a sense of foreboding settled over them like a heavy shroud. At last, with a final gut-wrenching scream, Egg Wunwu brought forth her child into the world. But as the midwives beheld the newborn babe, their eyes widened in horror, and they recoiled in fear. For the child that lay before them was like nothing they had ever seen before. Its tiny body was twisted and deformed, its skin mottled and pale. But most shocking of all was its head, which bore the unmistakable likeness of a goat, with curved horns protruding from its brow. Egg Wunwu's heart sank as she beheld her newborn child, her hopes dashed by the cruel hand of fate. She could feel the weight of the curse pressing down upon her, crushing her spirit with its relentless force. The midwives whispered amongst themselves, their voices filled with fear and disbelief. They spoke of dark omens and sinister prophecies, of curses and hexes that twisted the fabric of reality itself. But amidst the chaos and confusion, Egg Wunwu felt a flicker of something deep within her heart. It was a spark of maternal love, a glimmer of hope that refused to be extinguished. And as she looked upon her strange and wondrous child, she made a solemn vow to protect it with her life, no matter the cost.